Yes, thank you all for being here. I'll make some remarks and then followed by Shanna Chambly and Daniel Webster. Thanks again for coming. We all know politics is a blood sport, as Judge Roy Moore knows all too well. But even violent sports like SEC football and mixed martial arts have rules. And cheaters who break the rules and lie to get ahead or to prevent a fair fight should be called out and denounced. And that's what we're doing here today. For instance, just a few days ago, a stack of pre-marked sample ballots were found in the Bullitt County Probate Office. Thankfully, Secretary of State John Merrill worked with local officials to confiscate and discard those tainted sample ballots marked for Doug Jones. Our campaign has urged Secretary Merrill, and we continue to do so, and all local election officials to guard against any attacks on the integrity of this election next Tuesday. But statewide, one of the most blatant and unrepentant cheaters is a brand new shadowy super PAC by former Obama campaign operatives who have come into Alabama in the past few weeks with hidden money, up to $2 million, and a front organization called Highway 31. About the only thing that Highway 31 is open about is its complete disregard for the truth. It is attempting to help Doug Jones become the first Democratic senator from Alabama since Richard Shelby became a Republican. Highway 31 has been running an expensive, aggressive, statewide effort to spread lies about Judge Moore that not even the Washington Post would print. This week, the Judge Moore campaign sent cease and desist letters to media around the state requesting they stop running Highway 31's shopping mall ad, which rehashes debunked myths about Judge Moore and the Gadsden Mall, from which he was never banned, and it even floats new lies I will not bother to repeat here. The Moore campaign is prepared to bring Highway 31 to court to stop their smear campaign. The Washington Post, of all papers, actually called out Highway 31 for its evasion of campaign deadlines for disclosing its donors. They have orchestrated their schedule such that nobody will know who gave what and how much until after December 12th. We will never learn who is pumping money into Highway 31 until after the election, and this is by design. The Montgomery Advertiser has also sent cease and desist letters to Highway 31 for a misleading ad or flyer that they put out that implied that the Montgomery Advertiser was responsible for the content of their ad. Highway 31 has demonstrated it has no regard for transparency, truth, and apparently the intelligence of the Alabama electorate. You see, not only has Highway 31 maliciously maligned Judge Moore and hidden their millions of dollars from public view, they have now pivoted to voter intimidation and deception in an attempt to coerce people from voting for Judge Moore or even just from voting freely. In one ad seen running on YouTube, Highway 31 threatens voters ominously, quote, "Your vote is public record and your community will know whether or not you helped stop Judge Roy Moore." Secretary of State John Merrill, thankfully, has been very diligent on this issue and these malicious ads. He stated, "We've seen the contents of the ad and it is voter intimidation," unquote. His office confirmed, quote, "When voters cast a ballot, no record is ever made documenting the candidate for whom the ballot was cast," unquote. When called out for its misleading ad, Highway 31 refused to fix it or to pull it back. We're happy to report what was reported today, that thanks to the diligence of Secretary of State Merrill and his office and concerned citizens around the state, Google has now pulled the Highway 31 ads from YouTube and will no longer run Highway 31's voter scare tactics. Secretary Merrill has turned this matter over to federal officials, and we urge a full investigation into Highway 31. If anyone sees any more misleading ads by Highway 31 or other groups trying these bully tactics against voters, or otherwise engaging in voter fraud, we urge you to call the Secretary of State's hotline at 1-800-274-VOTE. We want to remind the Alabama voters that they should not be intimidated by anyone who would dare to suppress or manipulate your vote. The days of the KKK or Black Panthers or other violent groups intimidating voters at the polls are mostly behind us, thankfully. But Highway 31 has taken it upon itself to covertly coerce people into thinking that their vote will not be freely and confidentially cast next Tuesday. They should be ashamed of themselves. Their lies should be rejected, and we believe Doug Jones is complicit for not denouncing these bully tactics. In fact, the Doug Jones campaign continues to push its own false ads about Judge Moore and his record, including an absurd ad about several judicial cases Judge Moore voted in as Chief Justice. We denounced the ad, and just this week, PolitiFact.com ruled it to be false and misleading as well. To the voters of Alabama, your right to vote is precious and constitutional and essential to the integrity and future of our republic. Many have fought and died for this American right in the past and in recent history. No one should be made to feel intimidated into voting for Doug Jones or anybody else by these modern, deceptive, and fraudulent tactics. To Highway 31 and other bullying outsider groups, we say, just as the good people of Alabama have not bowed to the onslaught of lies and Washington establishment money that poured into this campaign in months past, and we voted to make Judge Moore the Republican nominee, so again, the people of Alabama should not be fooled by shadowy outsider groups who will lie, cheat, and attempt to steal this election. It won't happen. We have had enough. Here in Alabama, we like smash-mouth football and we like smash-mouth politics, but nobody likes a cheater. We didn't let Hillary steal the election here from Donald Trump last year, and we won't let Highway 31 or any Obama or Doug Jones operatives do it here in Alabama either. Alabama voters will not be told how to vote by Obama, the Washington establishment, the liberal media, or fake news mouthpieces by Doug Jones. Alabama will choose its own senator, thank you very much. And on Tuesday night, that senator will be Judge Roy Moore. Shanna.
Good morning. I'm Shanna Chambly. I'm a mother, a wife, and a gun rights activist, and a supporter of Judge Roy Moore. The Second Amendment liberals and the Washington elite are spending millions to engage in a campaign of disinformation and outright lies about Judge Roy Moore. The balance of power in the Senate is very narrow. President Trump needs Roy Moore's support if the opportunity becomes available to appoint another Supreme Court justice. Both Alabama and President Trump can depend on Roy Moore. Would you trust a man backed by hidden contributions to a shady political action committee that, as Ben has stated, we won't know who has contributed to that PAC until after the election is over? They're running a campaign of lies and unsubstantiated allegations. And I'd like to tip my hat and commend Secretary Merrill for getting with Google to remove one of those attack and lie ads yesterday. And I want us as Alabamians to send a message to Washington. This is Alabama. We decide who we're going to send to Washington. If you support President Trump, if you support conservative judges, if you support our Second Amendment, if you cherish life, please get out and vote for Judge Roy Moore for U.S. Senate on Tuesday, this coming up Tuesday, December the 12th. If you need help finding where or when to vote, please visit alabamavotes.gov. Thank you. God bless Alabama. And remember to honor our veterans and remember the 2,000 fallen on this Pearl Harbor Day.
Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak very briefly. Folks, I have something that I want to share with you here today. Liberal groups always point the finger at conservatives, and they say that we exploit the poor and we exploit minorities. Today, I have the flip side of that coin that I would like you to consider. I submit to you that for decades, liberal elites has been promising African Americans and minorities that they will solve our problems. These liberal elites have been promising businessmen that they and they alone can solve our problems. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that as a business owner myself, that work with hundreds of businessmen all over the state, I submit to you that liberal elites do not solve our problems. Only good government, the type that leaves us alone, is what helps make us successful. These liberal elites have descended upon our state, and they're trying to tell the people of Alabama how we should vote. Exhibit A. Vote or die. Vote or die. I have a flyer here from a campaign that calls itself Vote or Die. And it's a movement that's supposed to help the folks in my community, in the black community. But I submit to you that this is the very same propaganda that has been put upon us for decades. If these liberal elites have to pay African American voters to come out to the polls, there's something wrong with the program. If you have to pay people to come out and vote, we got a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you something a little bit better to vote for. Let me give you someone that I know myself. For over 17 years, I've seen this man, and I've seen his work. This is not secondhand conjecture. This is what I've seen myself. Roy Moore will stand for what he promises he will stand for. He will stand for the people of this state and the people of this nation. And if you don't believe me, look at his public record. When he says he stands for something, he's not weak, he's not timid, he doesn't back down, he doesn't back up. He stands for what he promises, and that is what I'm here testifying for. Ladies and gentlemen, this Vote or Die campaign, these folks ought to be ashamed. And I ask the people in my community to think for yourself. Think for yourself what is going to make you successful and make your families prosperous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you both, Shanna and Daniel, for standing with us. We do have time for a couple of questions if anybody has any before we go.
Given your
Brian.
concerns about the Highway 31 Act and voter access, does Judge Moore support a constitutional amendment that would overturn Citizens United, which allowed those dark money PACs to operate?
I don't think we put out a position on Citizens United, but that's one of the favorite hobby horses that liberals like to beat up on. I will tell you this, Judge Moore doesn't believe Supreme Court makes law and that it could be overturned by an amendment. And you know what, Brian, that's the proper way to overturn a Supreme Court opinion. But I don't think he has a problem with the Citizens United decision per se.
How would he move to prevent this kind of dark money activity in the future then?
I think the scheduling required by campaign laws may be something to look at, so we don't have these last-minute shadowy groups coming in, playing games with the timing of when they disclose, purposefully running up lines of credit so they don't have to disclose who the money is. We want transparency, and we want the people of Alabama to know that this group is a shadowy group. We've got a one-page website and a whole lot of money to spend, and we just want to continue to call them out, and we thank the Secretary of State for also being diligent in calling their hand, and ironically Google and YouTube as well. Anybody else?
Ben, I heard Daniel saying, and I just want to clarify, are you saying there's voter corruption, that votes are being purchased by Democratic operatives here? That's what I think I heard you saying.
Well, I'll let Danny. Do you want to address that?
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. I did not say that. I did not say that at all. I simply stated that people need to think for themselves, and we, the people of Alabama, we don't need folks from wherever they're coming from to put out propaganda like what I showed earlier, telling people vote or die, whatever that's supposed to mean. And we don't need you paying our people because we're not stupid anymore.
But you're not alleging that voters are being paid for. Is that correct? Am I hearing you correct?
I'm not stating that.
And Ben, if Judge Moore does win, to piggyback on my colleague's question, is there any legislation the judge would support in finance changes?
I mean, we'll look at that. I think what we're concerned about with this voter die flyer is on the flip side, besides the hyperbole on the front. On the flip side, it says that those who attend these rallies will be given cash. And that's our concern, is that money is being handed out, and we know what the purpose is for. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Dupree, 5 days out, where's Judge Moore today?
Today?
Yeah,
like right now?
Is he going to take questions from us? Or are we gonna
He's campaigning. He's campaigning hard, and we're looking forward to President Trump being at the Gulf Coast tomorrow, and then Monday our big rally in Dothan, and I'm sure you'll all be there excited as we are. Anybody else?
Is the judge going to be at the Trump rally?
At the Trump rally? I don't believe so.
Can you answer questions about the allegations themselves? I'd like to ask the judge in person, but I haven't been able to do that.
We've answered him. He's denied all of the misconduct allegations, and there's been no credible evidence put forward. We're ready to move on. We're ready to win on Tuesday. One more question? One more question? We'll take from somebody else that hadn't asked a question. Does anybody else have one? Okay, you're up.
Well, I would actually, is this a campaign strategy to keep the judge away from actual reporters? I mean, he's doing interviews with cheerleaders of his and fans of his. He's not actually talking to reporters.
Why?
Why?
Because you're not voting for him. He's talking to the voters, and we're getting the message out any way that we can. You know, I know you're the old media, and you get offended when we don't talk to you, but we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, he's doing interviews, he's talking to people on the radio, as are all of his campaign. So, you know, we're getting the word out, because you know what? The people of Alabama know Roy Moore. Doug Jones needs to talk to you guys because nobody knows who he is and where he stands. But we know Judge Moore. We know where he stands. He stood strong for Alabama for 40 years, and he's going to continue to do so in the United States Senate. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.